Sweet, beautiful souls. Hello, welcome back. We have a pretty triggering, potentially pretty triggering episode today, but I know that you are open and available and you are ready. And when you put your consciousness and your connection to God, Source Divine above all else in your life, you are ready and available and open to all things that will trigger you. And I will say, one of the biggest things in my journey has been letting go a lot of my beliefs, being open to new beliefs. And then when those new beliefs come in, being open to let go of them once again and once again and once again. So that's what we're going to be sharing and talking about today. And especially in regards to politics, to political views. And I know this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. And what's really fascinating though is this has been completely detached from spirituality. Like we see a lot of these things that are taking place in the world, and for whatever reason, we believe that they are a different aspect and facet of our lives. We don't infuse spirituality and our connection with God, Source Divine, into all aspects. And this is really what is transpiring in our world, and the new earth, that the new paradigm that we are all collectively birthing is merging all facets, all aspects of our life with divine. So what I want to talk about today is why your political views are disconnecting you and limiting you with your connection with source. Here's the thing about the political system, and I'm going to share very openly. Here's the thing. Politics are like my least favorite thing to talk about, my least favorite thing. And that too is also a form of me not connecting with source, right? By saying and not wanting to talk about it, it's like, no, it's all source, it's all God. So I've never historically enjoyed politics, being I have two parents growing up that are different political parties, and so I just never wanted anything to do with it. However, as I started to grow older, I started to, I wanted to vote. I wanted to like feel like I had a say. Do we really ever have a say? And when it comes to voting, questionable. That's not what we're talking about. But I then began to associate myself with a certain party. And for the longest time, I identified myself as that political party, right? And what happened though, particularly in 2020, was I began to see through all that is transpiring. So what happened though in 2020 was I actually began to switch my political views, and I thought, I don't like what this party is doing. I'm going to go over to the next party. That was an interesting part of my journey, thinking like, oh, I see the corruption in this party, so I'm going to now go over to the other party. But now, here's the thing. When I began to learn actually about the two-party system is devised for division. It is devised to keep us separate. It is devised to quite literally bring people against each other. This is something that we don't talk about often, but if you listen to my previous episode about dark forces, you will begin to see that this is actually a very clever dark force construct. Think about it. If we can make people so passionate about one side and the other, because here's the thing. This is what I'm telling you when I've also done an episode about truth. What is your truth? Everyone believes that their truth is truth, and that is the truth, right? But there are for every single person in this world, there is a version of truth. There are billions of versions of truth, actually infinite versions of truth. And so this is when I really began to ponder and began to ask source, like, show me. I want to understand. I want to understand this system. I want to understand politics. I want to understand how to better really serve you and how to better live in alignment with you. And I don't want my political views to hinder this. And what happens when people are so attached to a political view is it automatically makes you, quote, against all the other people who are in the opposite political view as you. And this doesn't mean if you are in the two-party system, it doesn't mean if you associate with a third party system. This is irrelevant, like because the truth, the source truth, is that if there's a winner and a loser, we are disconnected from source. It is not fully of truth, it is not fully of the light. And so this is when I say, when I began to learn this, and this is actually a law that I've learned through Kabbalah. Anytime there's a winner and a loser, it is disconnected from source. Source is win-win. Win-win. Everyone wins. And so if we look at a two-party system, there is always going to be a winner and there is always going to be a loser. And when we are in our being and body, when we are feeling like someone is corrupt, when we are feeling like things are working against us, like those are bad people, like what are they doing? How could they do that? Here's the thing, I get there are injustices. I get there are really terrible things going on. I get that people are not acting in alignment with source and truth. I get this, and I'm not condoning anything or saying that any of it is great. I'm not saying that. But can we zoom out and look at it from a higher perspective that actually all of this needs to take place for us to raise and grow and elevate our consciousness. All of this needs to take place so that we can create a new paradigm. All of this needs to take place so that we can dismantle, crumble, and let go of this old system to birth and create a new system where we live in unity consciousness. I mean, I was just talking with someone the other day and I was like, wouldn't it be great if we actually just had someone who was like the leader of a country who said, whenever there was a problem, let me check in and tune in with God first. Let me ask God, like rather than like asking ego or talking with secretary of office, all of these things. Let me ask source. Source, what would you do? Our politicians should be the people that are channeling source. They should be the people who are deeply connected. And here's the thing, I believe that this is the system that we are truly meant to be living in and the system that is potentially birthing for us. But what I'm saying when we get so fixated on a political party, we are then projecting out unconsciously. This is an unconscious thing, and this is part of the dark force agenda that when you agree to something, when you consent, this is a form of unconscious consenting that you are X political party. You are then consenting to a system to be in a system that is not fully of the light. Now, does this mean that you're doomed and you're susceptible? Like, no, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But you can revoke your status with any party because here's the thing, don't we ultimately all just want to be conduits of love, light, and truth? Don't we all just want to be conduits of God's light and share this truth in the world? Part of sharing God's truth in the world is not being against a whole population of people. When I began to see politics from this new lens, I began to see and question. I was really curious because I started to think, why do all of these people feel so convicted in their belief, while a whole other group of people feel so convicted in their belief that is totally opposite? And so what's going on here? What's going on here? This is where I say there's a higher manipulation that is not fully of the light, that when you subscribe to being a certain political party, you are disconnecting part of yourself from source. Source is win-win. Source is everyone can win. Everyone can reap a benefit. Everyone can come together in unity and harmony. This doesn't mean everyone gets what they want all the time. No, but it means that we can come to agreements and we can actually consider the other person's perspective and opinion, because I always found it so funny that, like, especially during the political, like when we were deciding a new president, like everyone's sharing their political beliefs on social media, as if you sharing your political beliefs and sharing a reel or a post or whatever is going to get someone else to change their political beliefs. And I'm not telling you to change your political beliefs ever either. You can do whatever you want. We all have free agency, free will, and you can still have a wonderful connection with God and source and be deeply affiliated in a political party. However, if you want to really truly get to the next level with your connection with source, it may require you to let go of this form of identification, of being so entrenched that there is one right way and that the other people who believe another thing are another right. Because here's the thing, who created all of this? Source. Source created all of this. Source created every single person. Source created all of his children. So why would we be so against other people's ideologies? It doesn't mean that we agree to them, but we don't need to be against them. When I decided to fully revoke and disconnect myself from any political affiliation, I was able to see everyone's perspective with so much more love and compassion and understanding. And I'm really genuinely curious. It doesn't mean I agree with everyone's beliefs. No, this doesn't mean that we're passive. It doesn't mean that we're consenting to everything and anything. No, but it means that we can allow what's going to transpire, because here's the thing, all of this stuff is going to transpire whether we want it to or not. There is a higher agenda taking place right now. And so this doesn't really, again, like this does not mean that we just like lay back and be like, whatever, source is going to take care of it. No, we can still be very active in what we are doing and pursuing. However, the number one thing that you can be, the number one thing that will help the collective is you working on you. Not you trying to change a system, not you trying to change the politics, not you trying to change everything out there. No, you create a better earth and a better world through you working on you. Because the more that you elevate your consciousness, the more that you connect yourself to the light, the more that you connect yourself with your source, the more that you are a high conscious light in this world. And that when other people come into your vicinity, they are enlightened and they are lifted up and raised up simply by being in your presence. And you send out a powerful force field into the collective simply by your presence. And so to try and change other people, to try and change the system is a very useless and very uphill and not efficient way of changing our collective. The way that we change our collective is by changing ourselves and working on ourselves and fully devoting and committing ourselves to the light, to God, to source. And when we're fully connected to that, God, like ask source what to do, ask source what to believe. But I don't believe that source ever intended for us to be against a whole huge demographic of his children simply because they believe and think something different. I mean, look at all of the things. This politics is just one thing, but there's all of these movements, right? There's all of these movements that have been happening over the past few years, and really like collectively, like there's no demographic or group of people that we should be against. People who have more money than you, people who have a different sexual affiliation than you, people who have experienced some type of like none of this. Like we don't need to be so for it. We don't need to be so against it. It is all about neutrality and seeing that both perspectives are valid and that we can love and accept everything and everyone. You can love and respect a Democrat if you're a Republican, and you can love and respect a Republican if you're a Democrat. And ultimately, you can get to a place where you can see that there is pros and cons to both. And ultimately, how can I become a beacon of God's light, God's love, God's truth, and his emanation in this world, so that we get to a place where politics is no longer a story and we can simply just run a country based on God's light. And I get the thing, like I totally get it. This may not even happen in our lifetime, but I believe that we are seeding this right here and now. And the actions that you are doing, they matter, they count. And so every time that you devote and commit yourself to the light, you're anchoring in this collective new paradigm and new consciousness. Okay. So I want to also share that like you're not doing anything wrong by being affiliated with a political party. This is not to shame or blame any of you. Like we're all in different places and spaces with our consciousness, but we have to begin to get curious why people are saying that certain things happening are so right and so wrong. And like, what are all of these discrepancy happening with the voting and with the, like all of these things, you guys, it is keeping you distracted. It is keeping you distracted. It is all a distraction. It is a dark versus distraction because when you are so focused on the minutia, on the details, on who actually won, who didn't win, who is doing what decision are they making over this and over this and over this, and who's all of this stuff is keeping you distracted. Because when we're so focused on putting out the anger and the malice and the dislike and all of this stuff, we're feeding the system. When you want to prove that you are right because your party, whatever, you're feeding it. Take a breath, reconnect with your heart, and reconnect with Source. Source sees beauty in all of it. Source sees it's all going to happen for a reason. Source sees that even destruction is for a reason. And so how can we get to this place where we can simply become a beacon of light? You are watching this, you are listening to this because you are here to anchor in truth, consciousness, love, consciousness, light, consciousness into this collective, into this paradigm. This doesn't mean that you don't do anything. No, this means that you can actually be very active, but your actions are going to hold 10 times more weight when they're in alignment with Source rather than in alignment with a political party. So hopefully I've ruffled some feathers. Hopefully you've had some illuminations. Ultimately, my goal and my job is to bring you back into your truth, back into your power, back into your light. And this is a huge one right now. This is a huge one right now. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have any comments, questions, anything, I want to hear it all. We can have these discussions, I'm here to celebrate and welcome all of this. I want to hear your views. I want to hear your perspectives. I'm open to all of it, right? We should all be open to each other's perspectives and views. Challenge what I say. Challenge what everyone says. Challenge everything that you are hearing and receiving and listening to. Because ultimately, I want you to be connected to your source, to your soul, to your essence, and really trust that over everything and anything. So if you want to get more into your truth, more into your essence, more into your connection, jump inside the miracle frequency. I lead you through meditations, activations, and clearings to get you in alignment with your full source truth. And if you want to do this even deeper and even faster, book a session. This is where we go deep, quickly, and resolve and clear past blocks and traumas and get you on your highest soul path. Everything will be below. And with that, I'm just sending you all infinite love and light.